All right. Well, sex positive talk is good. Very sex positive podcast. Here we go. Back to chapter 8.
That's a cold open, that whole thing.
It sounded like a hot open to me, but whatever you want to call it. In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Catherine Applegate and her husband Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, an inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names, but we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Chris.
I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddy.
And we are the Anadorgs.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
We get a lot of good stuff in these coming pages. Well,
when do you want to? Oh my God, we're at the big wheel. Holy shit!
Yeah, there's a lot that happens. There's some sexual tension that happens before the big wheel.
Oh, we learn a new sex positive word.
That's
Shorms.
right.
Sure. It
Sure.
does feel that way, yeah.
It feels very sex positive, I think.
It feels like a word that you'd have to get explained at school by your peers.
Yeah, and then
you.
freaking my best friend Andrew tells you something totally ludicrous that when you tell Marie about it, she's like, that is not how sex works at all. Just so you know. Yeah. And I asked about blowjob. I think I used it in a sentence very confidently, talking about painting something. Like I thought it meant essentially airbrush.
Oh yeah, I remember the blow pens. I think they called them blow pens.
Yeah, exactly right. So I had seen the infomercial for blow pens or whatever. And I was like, that's what a blowjob is. And somebody, presumably Marie again, was like, all right. So
as folks may remember, some shit went down on Axe's trip to school. That was not fun.
I need a moment. Hold on. I'm lost. I need, what the fuck happened in chapter 7? I can't even remember.
Disguised himself as Jake's cousin Philip?
Yes.
And went to school.
Chris, we had a dramatic reenactment of the final conversation.
I do remember, and it was so moving, I had to blank it from my memory so I could sleep at night.
So, yes, Jake's teacher has his yerk dying in his head. Jake sees assistant principal Chappie, with one of those weird metal cylinders that we saw with the guy screaming outside the mall at the very beginning, and he just hypos him in the neck.
Mm-hmm. And which kills
sick
kills the person and the host and the yerk. Yeah.
And the yerk will dissolve or disintegrate.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly about killing the human. The yerk is already done for.
Right.
Yeah, but it leaves no evidence of the yerk. There's not just a dead yerk laying there.
Yes, exactly. How embarrassing.
Axe is feeling alienated from Jake as well as the other Animorphs because they're suspicious that he knows more than he's letting on. Is there a specific thing?
They've kind of caught on to that because Axe admitted that he knew what Chapman was doing. He knew he was going to do it, and he's known about this.
Axe is also, and I think the book does a very good job of showing us this, he's also a scared kid. He doesn't have the same, I don't know if we can expect, I don't know if we should expect the same kind of moral responsibility that we would with Elfangor.
He's also alone.
A grown adult.
Yes.
No.
Right. And he's alone on the planet Earth all by himself. He's doing exceptionally well for having had to
talking
make
to
friends.
animals.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Which is perfect for where we pick up with him because he is feeling alone.
Yeah.
Wondering if he realized that he and Jake could never be true shorms.
My heart. No,
My heart.
so
Be still my heart.
note here was learning through context clues and Andalite's illustrated guide or something.
Yeah.
That I want that book.
This is exactly what it is. It feels like practice for kids to learn something through context clues.
Yeah. I don't know if they picked the best like phonetic sounds for the word shorm.
Yeah, shorm's a little weird.
Yeah.
So, yes, he says they could never be true shorms because there will always be a wall between them. But they're also all he has.
Mm-hmm. Without them,
only friends.
He'd be utterly alone. And he's at least 1 billion Earth miles from any living member of the Andalite species. Like, he's so alone right now.
So Marco, suddenly out of the blue, seemingly, asks Axe to hang out. And we get hang out in quotes.
I know. I thought they were just talking. Like, I didn't realize it was serious.
Yeah. So things have really escalated.
Yeah, in quotes is, holy shit. That's,
We get how Axe has been reading his interactions with Marco along with the rest of the group, because he says, Marco has never been very friendly to me. Unlike Cassie, Tobias, and Prince Jake, Rachel, too, has never seemed to take to me. And interesting that those are the two characters that we've seen have crushes on Axe, right?
I agree. Rachel's the one who said she thought he was cute.
Yeah.
And then Marco, look, all right, we read into things a lot, but I think it's fair to say, based on what we've seen, that Marco thinks about Axe a lot. Okay? I'll just leave it there.
So they're walking around, talking, and Marco's like been sent as sort of like a scout. He's trying to like feel him out to see if he can get him to tell, like to come to the light and share his Andalite secrets with the gang. And I don't quite understand why he thinks this is a good early maneuver, but he opens with, "So you want to be Pinocchio, huh?" To which Axe correctly replies, "What?"
It was flirty.
Axe is responding almost exactly how I would respond in this. If he's flirting, it's bouncing
Pinocchio
off.
is.
And he says, Pinocchio was a little boy carved out of wood. And Axe interrupts here and says, "I fucking well know who Pinocchio is." I'm joking. No, he explains who it is. He's like, Pinocchio was a little boy carved out of wood. He wanted to be a real live human.
And Axe is like, I cannot state this enough. In no way do I want to be one of your puny, inferior race. Like you, though I may do, Marco, I wish only to know about you.
Yeah,
not to
which
be.
he finishes up by saying, "I still don't understand how you ever open jars."
Marco says, "And I want to study Andalites." And
That's true.
Axe says, "It took several minutes for me to understand what he was saying. And I want to know, I want to get the whole scene of what happened within those several minutes that passed in which he was just understanding what Marco was saying."
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
So it's a rethinking. I feel like it's like a reimagining of the dialogue we got. Okay. So, you want to be my Pinocchio, huh?
What?
What I meant was, Marco was blushing. You want to be like Pinocchio, right? The little boy carved out of wood.
I don't understand. You wish to carve me out of
wood. I didn't say that.
Wood.
Stop! Marco suddenly grabbed Axe's hands, but then released them immediately, as if Axe's skin was hot to his touch. My point was, Pinocchio, he wanted to be human.
I don't want to be human.
Forget it, Marco said, squirming. He stood up to leave.
But Marco, Axe said, touching Marco's back, I do wish to study humans.
Study? Marco turned to face Axe.
To observe, examine. Axe's hand hadn't left Marco. It traveled to his chest. Touch.
What a coincidence. And I want to study Andalites.
Prince Jake probably asked you to press me for information.
He did, Marco gasped. But it sounds like we'll just have to take turns.
It took several minutes for Axe to understand just what Marco was saying. Beautiful.
Yes. You know what? I was pretty sure when I started reading that, I was like, I want to let this one go. I want to let someone else take this one.
I just felt like it was already what was in the scene. It just needed to be.
It was in the text.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely. Yeah. So to jump back into the flow, they are trying to kind of butter Axe up with how giving they are, to guilt him, essentially. They're going to guilt him.
We have nothing to hide, so why would you hide from us? We're showing you everything.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this was just Jake and Marco talking. This was not the group all coming up with this plan together, right?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
They're going to take him to a bookstore so that they can buy him whatever books he wants. Why not the library?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, yeah.
Why not the library? Why are we going to a bookstore? Okay,
well, they can't. What are they going to sign him up for a library card with? He doesn't have an address. He doesn't have a real name.
Use Marco's card. Marco gets the books out. They bring them.
Here's the only thing I can think is that if they are trying to butter Axe up, then maybe they thought buying him books of his own would win more points than just taking him out of the library.
They don't know
Bullshit.
That the Andalites practice any form of capitalism.
Very true.
Yeah, bullshit. They're from a post-scarcity environment. Yeah.
Okay.
They're from a post-scarcity society. I don't think that's it at all. I think these kids are just
they're on their way
to
get some books. Marco says that Rachel guesses the prime directive is the reason that Axe can't share anything. You can't share anything with primitive societies like humans.
He's whoa, you're close.
Axe super stunned. Yeah.
And Marco smiles a cold smile and nods his head, which is kind of eerie. Yeah. But kind of getting figured out like this, Axe he pauses and he's just looking around. We're going to get so sad. So many sad little lonely Andalite moments here. But Axe looks around.
Get ready to get so sad.
Yeah.
It's really, really true.
He looks around at all the humans in their cars and all the humans lurching along on two legs, which he still finds disturbing. And it occurs to him just how defenseless he would be without his Prince Jake and Marco and the others.
The others at all.
Yeah. I love how he always discusses the instability of humans though. I love that this is he's they're such beautiful creatures, lurching, always falling, never landing.
Well, these are books where everyone's just constantly teetering until the moment they fall on all fours. So
that's true.
It's built into it.
Well, anyway, any grace that is done by the human act of walking was undone by Marco suddenly slapping his pants when he realized he forgot his bus pass.
Yeah. The money, it was all the money. They'd taken up a fund to buy Axe books, and Marco had left all the money at home.
Yeah.
So he slaps his pants, and I just think that's a way to avoid saying he slapped his butt, because I'm that's where your back pocket is. That's where your wallet. It's he slapped his back pocket, and they're that's too close to butt. Say pants.
If Marco was narrating, he would have said it.
It's the tail arched on the back that was actually a tail tucked down between the cheeks in a couple episodes ago, running away from the Vliet.
Yeah.
I do also like the idea that Axe simply can't understand the action, so he just is he slapped his pants.
Pants.
That's what he does.
Actually, Marco very theatrically slapped his own butt.
He went, oh no,
I forgot my home. This next line is my favorite thing.
Where are we going? Ing.
Yeah.
Ing, ing. That is a very satisfying sound.
Yeah, everybody loves a good ing. Marco replied, and I'm just yes, everybody does love a good ing.
Gerund, it's the best form of verb.
They are the truest form.
So then we get Axe as he approaches Marco's house. New house, right?
New house. Very new. His dad just got his job back. We estimated 6 months spans the whole thing. And in book 5, at the end, Marco's dad got his job back. And where did he get the down payment for the house?
Bonus.
That's just what I want to know.
Oh, definitely a sorry we fired you bonus.
So Axe is noticing. He's noticing.
Do you want us to tee this up for you? Since you're the confused one?
Yeah, please.
Miranda, can you tee this one up?
So they're walking through the development, and he's looking at the different yards, and he notices that some people have things in their yard, decorative items, in their grass, because he doesn't even know the word yard, apparently. He's just using the word grass. He points to one and he asks, what is that decoration? And Marco, sort of, he looks and he sees it and he rolls his eyes and he says, that's a big wheel. And Eddy's note, and Eddy got to this before anybody else, and Eddy's note just says, what is a big wheel?
Which is really, really mind-blowing, friend. And we gave you 2 hints, and I'm very curious. I would like, if you could, bottom to top for me, a big wheel. If you could just, okay, so here's what I want you to imagine. Well, you walk out of the room you're in right now and you turn the corner.
There's a big wheel.
And there's a big wheel in your living room. What do you see? Just tell me.
So we were talking about context clues, right? Andalite's first context clues. I get this. It is a decorative object. Is at least what Axe understands to be a decorative object. It decorates something.
Yes.
Miranda, make no faces, give no hints away.
Okay.
Eddy gets nothing for free.
And Axe says it is very attractive, very colorful. And Marco says, I'd love to tell you how it works, but it's the very height of human technology, so it's secret. Primitive races could get a hold of big wheels, and then who knows what might happen. So my impression from this whole scene, very colorful, very attractive, at least to Axe. And it's in many people's lawns. So I hear big wheel and I thought, motorcycle? Motorcycle with a big wheel? But my hints throughout the day have led me to believe, I forget what yours was.
Mine was gaining traction, pun intended.
Yes. So that makes me feel better about the whole wheel thing that we have going on here. And what was Miranda's?
All right, I'll tell you since you forgot. It was, you said something about your training wheels.
Yes.
On.
Okay. So what I thought from that was tricycle. That's my final guess.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
You are correct.
Ding, ding, ding. You got
it.
it.
Is a tricycle with a big front wheel.
And very importantly, entirely made of plastic.
Oh,
Everything about it is made of that horrible plastic. The wheels are plastic, which means they were really great for drifting. And they were terrible. They were a terrible toy.
Yeah,
but they were so cheap. And so that's why they were in literally
So basically
every
the back
yard.
wheels didn't turn at all.
No, you pedaled the big front wheel.
Big wheel.
It was terrible. It was really bad. It was like a penny farthing, but made of plastic.
So it's essentially. So many houses are decorated with tricycles?
Many houses are decorated with items, and the one he asks about is a big wheel.
So that's what I think threw me was when I didn't know that thing was called the big wheel. I thought it was just a tricycle.
There were many tricycles. There was one big wheel.
I was thinking when I thought it was a decoration that in many people's yard, I thought it was some kind of like the equivalent to a lawn flamingo, which was the wrong direction. So we get Marco and Axe stopping at Marco's house because they can't go to the bookstore.
Right, and after their little big wheel debacle, they arrive at Marco's house. It's Marco's big wheel.
It's Marco's big wheel. Oh my God. He's a little bit too big for that big wheel, but it is Marco's big wheel. But yeah, no, he's definitely, he's going to run in. He's going to get the cash. He's going to do a smash and grab on his dad's safe. Just a little smashy, reach in, get the goods.
So his dad twisted his ankle, so he is working from home right now.
Right. How modern.
He sprained his ankle as what is he, an engineer?
Yeah,
he's an engineer.
But like a civic, not like a civic engineer, like a systems engineer.
Got it.
Yeah, like a computer scientist.
Yeah. Marco asks Axe to not be weird. Don't be weird, okay? He says.
That's what I say to my cat every day. I just hold her close to my face and I go, just this fucking once. Don't be weird, please.
Then she gets in the shark.
Axe says, no, I will not be weird. Weird. I will act like a normal human. And that leaves Marco feeling very confident.
Yeah, Marco's like, I'll just be quick.
Yeah.
So he gives them some guidelines.
Rules, even, actually. More than guidelines.
Takes them to be rules, not guidelines. Yeah. Because Marco says yes or no. Just stick to yes or no.
Miranda has a note here. So Marco says, I'm going to go call one of the others to meet us at the bookstore. You're already driving me nuts. Miranda said, this is code for, I don't know how to be alone with you. There's so much potential in this whole chapter.
So, in the room that Axe is waiting in Human Morph is Marco's dad's computer. It's just open with his work up, with his work up. I'll say the word right.
I thought it was weird personally because
that I said it that way. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
No, I'm just kidding. No,
I mean because I lived in the 90s and the computer was not just out. This is actually our house followed one aspect of the computer rules, which all of our computers were facing the center of a room. Yes. Which is the thing they told you to do so that your kids didn't have too much, except for yours, maybe. Yours might have actually been facing away. Well, it faced into the room, but not to the center.
But at Eddy's house, the main computer, or the computer that the kids got to use, was in the kitchen. You had two computers, one in the kitchen and one in the living room. We were in fourth grade. Both of which were prominently visible. Yes.
Okay.
Prominently out.
But
our house, we buried them deep in the computer room.
Other people had computer rooms, but you had a computer room. There were 4 or 5 computers in that room. I have a memory of, I don't know if I was ever more envious of the Baldy's childhood than when I came over and Miranda, you were playing The Longest Journey with your dad.
That game is so good and I will never shut up about it. Please continue.
And it was also the most adult game I had ever played.
It is. Yeah. It is.
And
it's rated mature.
I was it's a point and click adventure to my parents and they bought it for me. And I was oh, I'm learning a lot from this game. In retrospect, it was not actually, it was very, I guess racy at parts for
yes,
the 90s.
There was a guy who was trying to sleep with her really aggressively.
Yeah.
They swore there was smoking and there was drinking.
Yeah.
Axe walks right up to the computer and says, "This is my domain." and this is this is so mind-blowing. I'm just realizing because he sits there and he's playing Snood.
Okay,
and he's playing Snood circa or Neopets circa 2004, whatever reference you want. And he's playing and he's I am fucking crushing it. And I don't know why Axe is talking in this voice.
But he is. He's I win.
Yeah.
He says, I win. And it turns out that the thing he thought was a game was actually Marco's dad's programming work. And that he just he thought he was solving baby programming problems for babies. And in reality, he was pushing computer science forward 100 years, but we'll cover that in a bit.
Yeah.
After saying, I win, Marco's dad walks in and says, "Are you winning, son?" Marco's dad walks in and sort of says, "Hello?" Because, this kid's at his computer.
Yeah. So I'll pick up with here. No.
I'm Marco's dad. Are you a friend of his?
Yes.
What's your name?
No.
Your name is No.
Yes.
That's an unusual name, isn't it?
No.
I wish he had just said fair enough. But he says, "It's not?" ?
Yes.
Yes, it's not an unusual name.
No.
Now I'm totally confused.
Yes.
Marco's father stared at me. Then, in a loud voice, he yelled, "Hey, Marco? Marco? Would you, your friend is here. Your friend No is here."
No.
Yes, that's what I said.
Whoa, Dad, you met my friend?
No.
What?
I must be getting old. I don't understand you children.
Yes.
And scene. Nicely done, everybody. After that, they went to the bookstore.
I love that we don't even get the bookstore scene.
That's true.
So, chapter 9. We did it.
Chapter 9.
We're here. Here we get a diary entry from young Axe. We get, "Books are an amazing invention. They allow instant access to information simply by turning pieces of paper. They are much faster to use than computers. Surprisingly, humans invented books before computers. They do many things backwards."
This makes no sense.
No. It makes no sense.
I mean, computers in the 90s, in humanity, were slower to load a page than it was to turn a page in a book, I guess. But
I guess
the
so.
Andalites, who already have touch it and think what you want technology,
Yeah.
would presumably.
When you don't even call it Alexa anymore, like it's just the air you breathe.
No, she can tell by my intention what I want. Like,
I think Axe just wanted a hot take here. That was the moment.
Yeah, I think Scholastic fucking lined his pockets.
oh,
if
you know what?
I mean.
This is like vinyl versus CD.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have the
Team CD,
same
baby.
quality, you know?
It just doesn't sound shitty. And I like my music to sound shitty.
Axe went home from the bookstore with a world almanac. And so
Such a boring
he
pick.
opens the chapter spouting
He's gonna
off.
win the lottery when he comes back in the future.
He comes back spouting off facts like, did you know that 12% of households have a dehumidifier? He's very impressed by this book.
He says it took Andalites 3 times as long to go from inventing the first flying machine to landing on the moon, but we don't know how far away their moon was or what it was made of.
Interesting resonance to earlier. You know, Orville and Redenbacher Wright originally manufactured bicycles.
No, that's what you were gonna say.
Orville and Wilbur. Orville and Wilbur Wright. I'm sorry. I just
that was what you were gonna say.
I genuinely set out to say the right name, and then
Redenbacher.
I thought it was a reference to Axe eating popcorn in the movie theater.
and there we go, just another literary layer of onion to peel back.
When the
for
Wright
people
brothers
at home.
invented popcorn in 1978,
While riding a bicycle,
a tricycle, no less.
no less, a penny farthing, modeled after the soon-to-be invented bigger wheel. Yeah, the bigger wheel.
Impressed by the humans. He says humans are a very clever species. Someday, if they survive, they could be one of the great races of the galaxy. Of course, Andalites will always be greater.
They make them say this every day before lunch or something. They're like, when you pray for your meal, it's like, Andalite shall always be the greatest. Let's eat.
So now we get a scene of Axe standing by the water. He's at his feeding spot or his morning spot.
Drinking
He's
spot?
in this little morning nook of the woods.
Like a breakfast
Yeah,
nook.
like a little breakfast nook. And he's got one hoof in the water, you know, drinking. And he notices Tobias flying down above him while he's doing this. And Tobias is in a mondo hurry. He flies up with the crew in bird morph.
He's like, everyone's
all
looking for
out.
you. Let me get them. And he comes back. Tobias lands in a tree. The rest land on the ground. And that's when he knew they were the Animorphs. And I'm just saying, who did he think they were before this?
Hey, he was like so
just
nervous.
his
He's like,
bird
Tobias, I don't
posse?
want to meet your friends right now. Like, come on, I'm doing my morning ritual. Like,
bird friends.
I love the idea of Tobias introducing his bird friends, and they're all different species of birds. Like, I love this idea.
And they've been so worried about birds flying together, and Tobias is just naturally hanging out with a bunch of other birds.
But the point is, they're flying down and everybody's in a hurry. They've apparently been looking for Axe all over. Axe is where
they're
he
morphing
always
back,
is.
He goes, what is the matter? And Marco goes, what's the matter? You're asking what's the matter?
I'll tell you what's... And he's doing that in thought speak as a bird. But he's hastily morphing back to human.
So he crosses the line from where, like, beyond which he can no longer thought speak before he has morphed human mouth and vocal cords. So he simply begins to squawk.
Right. He goes straight from alfalfa to Polly wants a cracker. And
we do get a little bit about Cassie being a talented morpher that even Axe recognizes again, but specifically he comes in with this new word called estrine.
Yes.
And he says on his planet, morphing beautifully is an art form.
Yeah. I am so excited for one reason, which is we now know what my profession would be. It's like that's what a career in the arts is for Andalites. Like it's like I would be an estrine who would be trying to morph beautifully
But they have
for everyone.
The Andalites are very advanced in the art, so I think you got lots of options there.
I don't know that they are. They shit on music super hard.
They think their music is beautiful, is what he says about human music. And that just means that he doesn't consider it the same as his music.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know if they have music. I mean, they barely, what do they even hear ever? They don't
They do
talk.
have ears.
Yeah,
Yeah, but what do they use them for?
Too, though.
They just hear so they can tell if someone's hoofing up on them. They don't even need ears that are particularly good.
I think
They don't even need good ears. I'm just saying.
think you are identifying that they don't have singing, and I think that's a really great
Without
setup.
the complexity of the
percussion.
voice.
Maybe it's all percussive.
But we could have a musical where Axe learns to sing as in his human morph.
This is a beautiful idea. I'm gonna say no to it. I'm already working on an Animorphs musical.
Guys, Andrew Lloyd Webber's last production went really badly. I think we could get him. He needs a win.
Yeah.
And he
we'll
loved
get
it when
T-Swift
T.S.
to write a
Eliot
song.
wrote all the lyrics. So if we can just convince him to turn K.A. Applegate prose into lyrics.
Mystery 3 is the kind of part people would fight for, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I want Alan Cumming. And I want Cyndi Lauper as Miss Paloma. I'm calling it
Play that
now.
skeleton.
Yes. Oh, she would play it so well.
Bernadette Peters as Visser 1?
Yes. And I think we could get B. Arthur's corpse as
As Paloma's corpse.
as Paloma's corpse. I think
Do you
she
know
would
how
even
to write for a contralto? I've never done it.
The Animorphs, while we were talking, they finished morphing back to humans.
Yes, they're done morphing. The human parts simply ooze out of them.
Yes, yeah.
And Marco's yelling, like Eddy was saying, what did you do? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, my dad's computer. What did you do? And he's like, oh, I played Snood for a little bit. And my favorite thing about making this reference is Eddy most assuredly does not remember Snood. One of the biggest first viral games
big.
that
I
ever
remember that there
happened.
was a game
big.
called Snood.
I remember
Not sure I
being
played
mad that it was just Bust a Move, but everybody acted like it was cooler than Bust a Move. And I've
was
known about
free
it,
Bust
Bust
a
a Move
Move.
for years. So Marco is like, what you do? And Axe is like, I played the game that was on your dad's computer. I don't know what's wrong. He was like, that wasn't a game. It was my dad's work. He's like, no, it was a game. You had to find errors in the Oh, I understand. Your father designs games for children.
To which Cassie busts up laughing.
And I put the note, Jumpstart Z-space.
Whoa! Oh my God.
It's
Oh my
Jumpstart
God.
Z-space.
That's such a deep cut for me. That's like, that would have been the same age we were playing the the Carmen Sandiego game.
Jumpstart.
Holy shit. Jumpstart was like you could get Jumpstart 5th grade before you went to 5th grade. And it would
But they
like
also
prepare
just
you.
had very low level. There was like a Jumpstart kindergarten, and then there was Jumpstart reading, Jumpstart math, and Jumpstart typing, which is why I could touch type in 1st grade. So yes, he believes that Marco's dad writes games for children. Marco's like, no, you created a whole new branch of computer software. You may have found new ways to do astronomy.
Yeah, like he like
I want to know what that means.
well, like, so I think the idea expressed there excites my mind in the way a sci-fi book might, if it was like, he took tools, but because he was looking at them with Andalite first principles, he didn't see the limitations that the humans saw. So he combined them together and was like, oh, you could easily access Z-space, but if humans knew about Z-space, they'd see it too.
Right.
But they simply don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know. But yeah, so he pushed astronomy and computer science forward by playing this idiot game for babies. And now his dad is talking about Nobel Prizes.
Rachel's scared that if a controller hears about this new software, which they're going to, they might guess that an Andalite was behind it.
And
Yeah.
that's when the other shoe kind of drops for Axe.
Yeah.
Because he realizes that's a big deal.
Yeah, he starts, you just imagine Axe like in one of those scenes where there's like a black and white spiral and he's just falling while talking heads are talking at him about how stupid the thing he did was. And he's just like both having a realization, which is that like using this tool, he could call home, right?
Yes,
Like,
he realizes that he has pushed human science forward far enough that he could use what he wrote to call home after he's explained what it's running on. So he's like, what was it for? And they're like, it's attached to all these radio telescopes.
Right.
And like, he's like, oh, with that I could, but he can't tell them any of that.
And is the idea here that he was so home-horny that he like
Don't call it
didn't
that.
That is the term.
Don't think that I'm just gonna let that fly.
Well, that's what they say when you're living in a country far away and you think about home, you get home horny.
But he was so homesick that his subconscious was pushing him to let his filter down and to let him break, to let him give the technology so that he could access him. Like, do you think it was subconscious?
I don't think so.
Here's the thing: if they're idiot problems for babies, what's to stop him from looking at it canonically? Like in terms of the books, like what's to stop him from looking at it and seeing it and recognizing it as astronomy software? You know, like why wouldn't he understand what he was doing?
Well, he seems to imply that it could be used for multiple types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay,
that
fair enough.
That employing it in a radio dish could be used to open a whole disease
so
space.
I guess what we're saying is that he did the like Andalite equivalent of multiplication tables.
I feel like it was like someone put in a fill in the blank problem in front of him that he would have had, and he just went, "Oh, I know how to do these." Like someone put a truth table with hints next to it or something.
Totally,
and you're like, "Oh, I can do that."
Yeah. So there's a moment where Axe is narrating to himself. My mind raced through memories of classes from a long time ago. So he's remembering school back on his Andalite home planet. And he says, I could almost picture my teacher explaining, yes, with the right adjustments, the right software, yes, I could bounce the collected energy back, focus it, modulate it with my own mind, and break into Z-space, zero space. And I feel like there's kind of a conflicting characterization we've had of Axe, which is both whenever they're asking him, Axe, can you access what you learned on your Andalite home planet and tell us a bit about this? And sometimes Axe is not telling them information purposely, but other times he's like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy thinking about Andalite sports or something like that. And he's like, whenever that comes up, he's like a dumb jock. But by everything here on Earth, he's brilliant. He's light years ahead of us.
Well, their science is just so far ahead. So, like, I like to think of it of like, if I came into a fifth grader's class, it's like, are you smarter than a fifth grader? It's like, can I perform my tasks in society far better than these fifth graders? Absolutely. Do I remember everything they told me when I was 10 that they expect these 10-year-olds to know? No, because it doesn't all apply to my daily life.
I will say, I feel like I would destroy on that show. I let me at their stupid,
because you're like, I only ended real school in 6th grade. They didn't cram any more in there. It's all at surface level.
All fresh. It's all fresh. It's right on the surface of my smooth brain.
Smooth brain.
I got all the wrinkles out.
So is this total nonsense though? I don't even understand what he's saying. So I could bounce with the collected energy back. He's modulating energy with his mind?
It is total nonsense.
The modulation with the mind doesn't make any sense. That makes like, as far as I can tell, no sense unless Andalites have some sort of innate energy controlling ability, which is possible with the way that they do thought things.
But that hasn't been explained to us yet, if that's the case.
When it comes to the bounce the collected energy back and focus it thing, I imagine what he's doing is something akin to creating a singularity, right? He's creating a point in space so dense that it breaks through to Z-space.
Punctures into Z-space. That's the excuse that I give myself also in my head. This is huge, though. Like, as much as we're joking about like this realization about how he could contact home and exactly what technology he's handed over to the humans, the fact that he's handed over technology to the humans is the law he's been trying not to break.
Yes.
His tight-lippedness through this entire book has been kind of like he's been edging at it. I feel like there's a better word for that, but I'm going to say
it's
edging.
kind of like being home-horny, right?
He's been like skirting the edge.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
like no, I mean the word I was
He's
going to
like
use was
edge
flirting.
horny.
Yeah. Right. He's edge horny. He doesn't want to go all the way, but he's like, but here,
sex metaphor.
Man, I'm really water horny right now.
Yeah.
So the point is, he broke the law of Ciro's kindness.
Yes,
the law of
we
Ciro's
now know that
kindness.
the law, we don't know the history of the law yet, but we know that like giving a technology to humans, big no-no. Don't give a technology that you hold to a species that
hasn't
doesn't
figured it
that
out for
didn't come
themselves.
to it on
Yeah.
their own means, by their own means. Exactly.
Right. So he's realized in the same moment, I'm just going to go over this to make sure we have it for clarity. Axe says, I could use the system to send messages through Z-space. I could communicate with my own world. I felt it as a blow that made me weak. It was true. I could use that radio telescope to call my home world, to call my people, my family. I don't think I had ever admitted till that moment just how much I wanted to see another Andalite. Rachel immediately starts saying, what are you hiding, Axe? Because he's not speaking.
Right, because they're asking him questions and he's just like gone radio silent.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, now you're clearly like hiding something.
Yeah.
And he just thought speaks back simply, I'm not hiding anything. I lied.
Yeah.
Nothing
Like,
at all.
one of my favorite.
Acts the Rachel. Am I right? Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's Axe the Rachel now. Yeah, that's what it's become.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on to chapter 10. We're fucked, you guys.
Chapter 10 has some really great moments in it. There are a lot of good comparisons in this. So in chapter 10, Axe goes and he talks about, trying to eat on Earth and how he has to run through fields and he can only do it in the dark or if Tobias is watching, which I want to know if he has to run while eating, why he can just stand there with the water.
No, I think he grazes, but in the daytime, if he's to eat, Tobias has to keep watch. At night, he can do it on his own. That's my guess.
No, he says, so I eat at night running wildly through the open grassy fields.
I don't think he can.
Why
eat
is he
that
running
fast.
to eat? But I guess because you eat the grass that's beneath your hoof. Yeah, so you have to keep going to get more.
He's gonna yank out his hoof-teeth if he does that. Like, he needs to be careful.
I never thought about the hoof
do you think he has his adult hoof teeth yet?
Oh, maybe he's still on his.
When do Andalites
first
get their
run,
adult hoof teeth? I don't know.
The Andalite tooth fairy, the Andalite hoof fairy.
He talks about the differences between our moon and the moons in his sky. He says there's always at least 2 moons in their sky. And when all 4 moons are in the sky, it's nearly as bright as day. And I said, well, you know what? My planet's going to have 8 moons and blackjack and hookers. All right.
Yes,
we will
absolutely.
we will surpass you one day, Andalite.
I just thought this was so silly because they already have
Bender's
they have
planet.
2. They have 4 stomachs, 2 hearts.
4 stomachs,
3 hearts.
3 hearts, 4 moons.
Yeah.
No, we don't know
2
how. 4
arms,
moons.
4 legs,
8
4
fingers, 7
eyes.
fingers.
No mouth.
6 fingers. We counted
6 fingers.
Because
we
it's-
think,
Yeah,
but
based
they're
on how
frequently
they're
drawn.
joined.
It depends on if you count a thumb.
You have to because he says humans have a 5-fingered hand.
Okay. We don't know how many.
So you have to
What is it,
count the
David
thumb.
Mattingly made some artistic choices with depicting them in the illustrations.
yes,
and he
yes.
follows
Do you
us
want?
on-
Do you want me to like blow
shout him
our
out.
cred? Do you want me to blow our cred?
I think I saw an AMA with him where he was talking about the
Oh, the slope.
Slope.
The
How
angle
much
of
it
the
tapers
slope.
off? Yeah,
The angle of
yeah.
the slope of the back.
and he
gotcha.
admits he imagined it one way and it wasn't what was described in the books. So
Yeah. Well, it'll always be maybe Axe altered the information to try
There
to
you
keep
go.
Andalites safe. Not break
There you go.
Ciro's
That's what it was,
kindness.
yes.
Humans not ready for flatback Andalites.
Yeah. And which, speaking of Ciro's kindness, Axe is running through these fields. He's eating. He's saying he couldn't break Ciro's kindness. He's not like Elfangor. He's not like this older brother who's also like this mythic hero to the Andalites. He can't.
Star of
Right.
the Andalite basketball team.
And we get some real inferiority stuff from him, but also like some real looked up to him. He gets some cute lines like he was alive in my memory. And I said, unlike in my memory, where he is a maggot-infested corpse at Disney World with the family.
What the hell are you referencing?
Nothing.
What the hell? Okay.
It's weird.
I'm horrified.
It's like imagine if you imagined his dead body over all the memories where he was alive. Like family vacations with the
I
corpse.
I got it now. Yeah.
But then he gets this line that I also really zeroed in on. So he talks about when he was really little, apparently there's a big age gap between him and Elfangor, and Elfangor was already off being a warrior and becoming a great warrior when Axe was born. So when he met him, he had only ever seen him in communications and things like that. They'd never met face to face. And he was a little unsure, you know? They go off running together, and Elfangor looks like some sort of like mythical Andalite Adonis. So Axe says, "It was kind of a shock to me. Until then, I guess I thought I was the most important person in the family." And I feel like this is an attack on youngest siblings. Because I want to be clear about something, all right? Look, you get a lot of attention when you're little, and yeah, it can feel like the world revolves around you, and there's a moment when you realize that it doesn't, and they've all just been helping your dumb ass because you're too stupid to do it on your own. But I never, ever thought it was because I was the most important. I thought it because I was the cutest, and I was right. Okay? So,
you were right about that. How do you think Eddy feels when Alec ripped that away from him? Like, Eddy was like,
you got to be the cutest for just a couple of years.
I kind of understand this as the age gap is like significantly wide enough that Elfangor was leaving. He wasn't home. So maybe Axe's earliest memories are during a time when Elfangor wasn't even home. He was just someone they talked about. And
yeah, I think that's true. And then he maybe talked to him in messages, but that's it.
So do we think, does that put Elfangor in human years, which Axe loves to measure things in, human minutes, human hours?
I love this speculation, but this is going to be difficult.
Well, but I kind of feel like Elfangor has to be in like his 30s. I think we were imagining him like a college student or like someone in their 20s, but
I think that could still be true.
Yeah.
Because like you can end up a really important person by the end of college. And if you do, you probably get attention. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he like graduated magna cum laude from the best warrior school or something. You know, he went out on his first mission and proved himself.
And Axe is on missions.
So I think he's more
12.
like early 20s.
So
yeah, it's true.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Miranda.
the gap feels if we're talking human years, it would have to be a 15-year gap. I don't know how Andalite culture
15 to 20-year
works.
gap is what I'm thinking, yeah.
But in human years, like, you're talking often then about, like, something remarkably strange.
Yeah,
like,
we have no idea.
It's a non-normal gap.
Yeah, we have no idea
don't know how that looks
they usually do that with Andalites.
Yeah.
It might not be. You know, we had that weird picture of the nuclear family in the first book, but what was the description of the child Andalites? He just said there were Andalites who looked smaller or something. Or did he just say they looked like a family?
Oh, so was that was Elfangor's immediate family? That wasn't even his. Like,
yeah, because we don't, as far as we know, he wasn't like married with kids or anything.
Right. Yeah.
Assuming that was Elfangor's personal ship.
Yeah. He has a photo of someone else's family.
Well, it's just like a cubicle, right?
He hasn't replaced the photo that when he bought the frame at the store.
Yeah.
So we get Cassie. Cassie pops into the scene. Axe is like thoughtfully running through the field. He starts to head back to the forest, and then he suddenly hears someone say, "You might as well hang around for a while."
Yeah, well, he like in his thought, he got really close to Cassie's house without even thinking about it.
Yeah, he was
kind
just
of
running.
really close to blowing his cover. Yeah, she was in horse morph.
Yeah, she was
out doing
reasons.
a recreational run. Yeah. That's right.
Wait, but she speaks it. Is that
She
just
is
she's
like
in the stream?
no, she's like half morphed her face. She morphs her face to human.
She's in a stream.
And talks to him, but she keeps the mane of a horse and her legs end in hooves. And I don't know if she has 4 legs or 2. So like, I don't know where quite she is, but she's part horse right now.
She looks like, did you guys ever play that MMORPG where you were deer people with a face?
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks like that.
So she looks like the forest god from Mononoke.
From Mononoke, exactly.
Got it. And she tells Axe that she morphs into a horse sometimes. She likes running as the horse. Don't tell Jake. He'd be mad at her for using morphing for personal things. I like that we get Cassie with a secret here.
I do too. And I also like the return of morphing for personal reasons.
And then Axe is like, why are you worried about pissing off Jake? We all know that you and Jake are super close. And Cassie's like kind of shy about it. She's like, I doubt it. I'm just a friend and a fellow animorph. To which Axe says, then why do you sometimes hold hands and intertwine your fingers? Which, holy crap.
So cute.
And Miranda's note here says, interlaced fingers mean you want to fricky-fracky.
That is what I wrote.
Then Cassie chimes in and she's just like, well, you weren't supposed to see that. So I'm getting the impression that like Cassie and Jake have decided it's not good for the team that they have a relationship. They're self-HRing.
Right. They don't want anyone to think that he's going to prioritize Cassie's safety over anyone else's. It's a lot like when you romance Tally in Mass Effect 2.
It's why she had to risk her life by morphing a whale falling from the sky. Exactly. Like she had to prove that Jake and her were just boink buddies. It was nothing romantic, nothing more personal than that. It was just about the intertwined fingers, which means they want to fricky-frack.
And fricky-fracking, as we all know, means having a deep conversation.
Yeah.
That's what boinking means.
And mucking the stables.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. A phrase I never want to hear again. We're getting to that. We haven't gotten there yet. But so...
They start talking about the fact that Axe has been reading the World Almanac. Axe admits that he thinks humans are interesting.
And he thinks the Yeerks are afraid of us. Afraid of our capabilities.
Cassie wanted to know what he thought after learning about us. She was like, well, so what do you think now that you read an almanac about us?
And he's like, yeah, you guys, you learn things really fast. Once you discover something, you develop it very quickly. He also has a bit about, because Cassie tries to be like, humans aren't just about, wars, because he talks about, the atom bomb.
And it's specifically that if the Yeerks are afraid of us, we must be a militaristic threat. And she's like, well, like, if you're just reading the sections about how much we war with each other, but that's not the whole story with humans.
But Axe gets a couple little bits of lore. He drops that the Hork-Bajir used to have... I don't know how the Yeerks have gotten rid of it, or maybe they evolved past it, so I don't know. Yeah. But the Hork-Bajir, who have been described before as an extremely peaceful race, used to have a biological time clock that set them all warring every 62 years.
This is literally the thing that I think primed me for home-horny. It's their war.
Ponfar.
Like, it's literally their war-horny.
Yeah.
They just get, every 62 years, they just get, like, war-horny, and it's like, time to go.
And I said a similar thing where I was like, does it build up and then they get like one night of purge every 62 years? And it's just like...
And then they try and move on and shit on the Taxons. And like, he's like, okay, so the Hork-Bajir get war horny every 62 years. The Taxons, they are cannibals. And it's like, stop with the anti-Taxon agenda.
And I'm like, look at them. Who wouldn't want to eat those widow feet? Who wouldn't want to eat those widow feet?
What's funny is he says in the past, Andalites made war on other Andalites, and then describes the Hork-Bajir and the Taxons doing the exact same thing, warring with their own species, but just more specifically. He like gives no details about what that Andalite war looks like. But presumably the Hork-Bajir were fighting other Hork-Bajir.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. I missed that entirely.
But I feel like they were like, we'll just dig into that Hork-Bajir stuff later when they run out there. I want to know more about the...
And then he moves on to like, I'm not trying to shame your species. Like, every species has some terrible guilt that they hold. And it's like...
Cassie will remember that.
Yeah. Exactly that.
Anyway, Cassie is not so successful at getting him to say much, but she's realizing that he's blocked in terms of sharing. And it comes out that he's bound by an oath as an Andalite warrior that he must never give away Andalite technology to any other species. And we try not to talk to ourselves to any other species. And in saying that, he was like, this, I'm like not buying this even myself. Like, it just sounds pathetic. And then Cassie like pushes him and is like, not even if it would like help us though, like,
and like
beat
help
the Yerks
beat the Yerks, yeah.
specifically, which like is more than we're designed to be up against. Yeah, like
isn't that what your really cool big bro did?
And then he's like, I'm not Elfangor. I'm more like you. Pathetic. And no, I'm just kidding.
It's just a young one. Elfangor
just
was
a young
great
one.
Prince.
A great prince. My people might understand and forgive what Elfangor did because he was an important person.
And Cassie just pivots. She's like, you know what? Why don't you morph into your human morph and come inside? You could meet my parents.
Which is a wild idea. I know. And then
Axe says he's eaten already.
Yeah, and she's like
running in the field.
Yeah, she's like, you've eaten, huh?
And she apparently she looks like she's about to ask a question, but she doesn't.
Apparently the Animorphs' big thing is where the butthole is. They want to know where the butthole. Yeah. They're just like, they're like trying to get to it via a roundabout way of asking about the mouth. They're like, the mouth will lead us to the butthole.
I also love Cassie calls out Axe. She's like, she tells him that he looks lonely. Mm-hmm. And he apparently didn't think the humans knew, which I think means he thinks he has been crushing it in his portrayal of a well-adjusted Andalite warrior. Like, he's like, they have no idea. Another perfect performance again.
I don't know if any other narrator, I feel like I've said this about a couple, but we're leveling up with like how direct they're going to be. Like, has another narrator said things like, I was surprised by how much that hurt me? Like, actually just said that they were hurt and that they were feeling?
That's a really great point.
I think Cassie has brought up, in her book when she was dealing with her, like, consent struggles and things, I think she was a little surprised sometimes just how uncomfortable she was with things or how not uncomfortable other people seemed with things that were giving her pause.
Yeah. Like, Rachel had really strong emotional responses to stuff and expressed it, I feel like. Yeah. And Tobias seemed conflicted, but there's something that feels different about Axe, and I don't know if that's just like the books.
He comes off very earnest, I think, because maybe because it's not his language, and so he just speaks very directly most times. Yeah. And so to just be like, this hurt, this felt bad, like it can sometimes feel more elegant than trying to find a fancier way to say it is to just admit how raw the emotion was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think there's an interesting resonance too with like, sometimes high level communicators sound basic, and we're like, as maybe adults in 2023 who are like in the zeitgeist of self-help and therapy, like being able to say something so basic about what you're experiencing can be so useful to unlocking things. And the reason why I bring this up is because something I did highlight earlier was when, you know, it's not about an emotional content, but when Axe was saying you discovered radioactivity at 1896, and in 1945, you exploded an atomic weapon, 49 years. In 1903, you flew for the first time. 66 years later, you landed on the moon. And then Cassie sort of asks back, like, you're saying we do things quickly. And in a weird way, like, it sounds really basic, but it's actually an active listening technique.
Yeah, she's like, because that's a jump. It's a bit of a jump, but it's still just saying it back to him and making sure that they're on the same page.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like when a therapist hears you say, if you're like saying like, well, my all of my people are on another planet and I feel disconnected from them because I have no way of contacting them and I feel estranged from the group of humans that I'm a part of on Earth. And then the therapist says, it sounds like you're lonely. And Axe is just saying
and he just cries. Like,
yeah.
And he's just saying that part. I'm lonely.
But I think you're totally right, where it's like, this has hit a high level, like, to contrast it with Rachel and Tobias in the tree before she flies off to the zoo to get the bear morph. They were avoidant and moving off the target of that conversation.
That's a conversation where less was said than words were spoken, and this is a conversation where more was said than words were spoken. Like
Exactly.
And once again, we get Cassie being like really emotionally intuitive. And also just saying the things that the group knows, but that no one else is saying to Axe. Yes, so we move into... They have dinner together.
They do. He's gonna morph Jake.
Yeah, and that I just want to hit that this is a cliffhanger because Axe asks, "How would you explain to your family who I was?" Cassie shrugs and says, "You morphed Jake's once, didn't you? So be Jake." And something about that, it's just such a non-cliffhanger, but it's also like, I don't know, something about it.
But you're like, what is going to happen with that?
It just it was so loud in my imagination. I was like, I'm not sure what's happening anymore.
I hope Cassie's at least texting Jake. She was the consent-minded one. She's like, so Axe is going to morph into you. That's okay, right? Like, I hope that's happening.
And this is the diary entry. At the beginning of chapter 11, we get a diary entry.
Humans have very odd tastes. They think their music is beautiful. They are wrong. It is awful. All of it. And they completely ignored their greatest accomplishments. The cinnamon bun, the Snickers bar, the hot pepper, and the refreshing beverage called vinegar.
Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
All taste-based things. Axe just is really...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a tastemaker.
I agree with the cinnamon bun and the Snickers bar. And vinegar is actually a more useful...
I'm going to say it made my meal tonight. Rice vinegar is what brought my meal back. Being in Prince Jake's body is no different from being in my regular human form. There's a lot to this statement. And I'm going to leave it at that. Moving on.
Okay. He says that humans are very particular about clothing. We continue to hit that point. Mm-hmm. Cassie made him put on some overalls. I guess he had his morphing outfit because did he put him...
It's all about whether or not he remembers...
What did he say? Did he integrate an outfit into his Jake morph?
No, we talked about this. Well, we don't know.
Because we know he did into his regular human morph, exactly. But we don't know if he did into his Jake morph. But when Jake turned around in book 6 and said, "I saw myself standing in front of me," he didn't follow up with...
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Do the clothes go with the morph memory is the question. Yeah. Cassie's dad, when they walk in, goes, "Hi, Jake. Cassie talk you into helping her muck out the barn again?"
That doesn't sound like a euphemism.
It doesn't sound like...
I know what that means. Yeah,
I think the Baldies family are going to be the prudes for once and say that you're being inappropriate.
We've seen them muck out the barn together before.
What does that mean? Muck out the... Just clean it?
Oh, it's where you take the poopy hay out. You scoop the hay out. Or poop out. You scoop the poop out.
Yeah, but it's also poopy hay.
We've seen them do this?
Yes.
Yeah. They were doing that.
Jake helps her.
Shoveling manure. Yeah.
It's in one of Jake's books. It's either 4 or 6. Because he comes over. Because
he says she looks
hot
cute. Or so he says something
He's like,
that's
you look cute while you're shoveling poop.
So we meet Cassie's parents.
And they're lovely. They have the usual number of arms and legs.
Cassie's dad is made chili.
He's male, as all human fathers are, as far as Axe is seen.
Yes. Well, he doesn't know about gender. He only knows about biological sex. And he doesn't know about the difference between gender presentation and biological sex. The World Almanac in the 90s was not as progressive as we would have liked. Anyway, yes, Dad has made chili.
Boy Dad, as I like to call him.
Boy Dad. He's got hair, but there's a section of his body of his head that's missing it, and Axe is wondering what's removed it. Cassie's mother come out. She has much more hair on top of her head than he does. So clearly it had not been removed from her head. He doesn't understand.
Cassie's dad is immediately bragging and is like, "Oh, you're here from the chili."
His world famous chili,
which Cassie immediately has a negative reaction to. And he just starts building it up. He's just like, this chili will kill you. He has a line that's
like, someone has to eat it. Might as well be you who suffers.
Right. And Cassie's mom calls it the chili of doom. The E4M1 of chili. Like...
Cassie tries to get Jake, or Axe in Jake more.
Jax.
Jax out of it. And
Jackson
Cassie's dad says,
Daxter.
too late. He's trapped now. There is no escape. Axe, they sit down to eat. Axe starts reviewing what he remembers about what he's learned about dining with humans.
Yes,
so he remembers what a fork is, a spoon, a knife. But he's never tried chili before.
No. And he feels like, even though Cassie has clearly been trying to play up that he's not that hungry and he doesn't really want any, that her dad will be offended if he doesn't eat some of the chili, showing the most tact that he has shown ever.
He understands diplomacy. It's just he doesn't understand human diplomacy.
So he eats a little of the chili, just a spoonful at first, just a spoonful.
Mm-hmm.
And
the chili was hot in temperature, but it was also hot in a totally new way. It was not as wonderful as chocolate, but it was intense. So incredibly intense.
the ecstasy.
The ecstasy.
We need a soundboard.
We do need a soundboard for that.
So yeah, Axe responds kind of predictably to having an exciting new taste experience, and he cries out, "This is a wonderful food!" And Cassie's mom is disturbed by this, and Cassie's dad feels supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he finally feels seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Axe announces that he'd already eaten an entire bowl of this marvelous chili. And I don't know who his Andalite god is. I thank the Elemist for him that he poops through his hooves and he won't have to experience the after effects.
What are you saying, bud? Like, oh, come on,
Spicy food make hurt poop.
Yeah, but hurt poop come from hand.
But hooves don't have feeling in them.
But hoof is attached.
A hoof is a nail. Hooves don't. The inside of it has
palm.
like a quid.
It has palm in there. If
you think he can
hoof,
feel spice out his hooves when Andalites can't taste?
Spice out hoof he feel.
I don't think so. I don't think if Andalites haven't developed a sense of taste that he is going to have a spicy poop out his hoof.
It's pain. It's not taste. It's pain. Spiciness is pain.
It's capsaicin. Do we think he has a mucous membrane in his hoof?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's your opinion.
We've got questions, and I do feel like I was comforted. I thought about this while I was reading, and I thought, okay, the food goes with. Axe is back in his Andalite morph. I felt like something about pooping through the hooves seems.
I feel like
I'm with Eddy.
I feel like
Eddy.
I have to.
I was comforted when I imagined it that way.
I have to zoom out a little bit here. I've been working my entire life to get Eddy to earnestly say the phrase "pooping with hooves."
Pooping through the hooves. You actually wrote the Animorphs books
to get Eddy to say
at 5 years old before you met him.
Before I had met Eddy, and Eddy was like, "I don't like you. Hurricanes are scary." And I was like, "I'm gonna write this book series and get your ass."
You went home.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm sick. I have to go home and immediately, right?
Mm-hmm. I did 9/11 so that you would someday say this.
Why is that your new go-to joke? You made one joke that said, I cut you talking about 9/11, and now your new favorite joke is, I did 9/11.
It's going on the soundboard, Chris.
All right, that's fair.
I did 9/11. Oh, no.
I got your ass. We get ass.
I did 9/11 and then the ecstasy. We can now confirm a second Andalite has hit the World
Oh my
Trade
god.
Center.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Now we get into my favorite scene in this entire chapter, which is the dad is like, I used the hottest fucking chilies imaginable on the shit. Mm-hmm. He was like, this is the dankest 420 ass blazed shit. Mm-hmm. And to which Axe says, it's not as hot as the temperature created during nuclear fusion, he pointed out. And this prompts, I wonder why this is the prompt, but like the mom goes straight into a question of like, so how is school, Jake? Since you dropped,
well, clearly,
since you dropped that,
he's excited
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Science.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to note that the pepper he used is habanero. Mm-hmm. It is a mildly hot pepper. It's like one step up from a jalapeno.
Yeah, but they didn't have the internet back then.
They didn't. We didn't have Carolina Reaper chilies.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but when she asks how school was, he's like, Axe is like, I got this one. I know how this works.
I knew what this activity was.
It's called Making Conversation.
And Axe explains the rules were that each person would ask the other person a question.
Mm-hmm. And so he goes,
Axe,
it is fine. And how is your work caring for animals? Same old, Cassie's mother said. Although we are about to have some new camel babies.
Camel Morph, Book 9.
Cassie's mother is a veterinarian at the zoo, a place where non-human animals are kept.
So, Jake, you think the bulls are gonna go all the way this year? That's Cassie's
You
father.
say sport things all the time, Chris.
Cassie's apparently starting to get tense at this moment.
Yeah.
Axe has read the World Almanac, and he knows what we all know, which is that in 1990, whatever, Michael Jordan played for the Bulls.
Mm-hmm. And so Axe knows that they're a sports team because they're in the almanac. And he says, yes, they can go all the way. I will allow it. So then it's Axe's turn to ask a question. And he says, that's how making conversation works. So did you know that the cream separator was invented in 1878?
Apparently they did not know. Cassie, her mother, and her father all stared at me in surprise.
After that, we watched All in the Family. I don't know. After that, we watched television for a while. It was a fictional depiction of a family. I watched it and watched Cassie and her parents. A play within a play. Hamlet.
This is symbols pointing to symbols.
I think she doth protest just the right amount.
Human family is a good thing to learn about. I had seen Prince Jake's family, and now I was seeing Cassie's family. They are different in some ways. For example, Prince Jake's family performs a brief religious ritual before they eat. Cassie's family does not.
Typical godless hippies.
Eventually, Axe tells Cassie, I must go. It has been almost 2 of your hours. He doesn't say Earth hours.
But
once.
your hours.
Yes.
Not
your
my hours.
And that's true.
They're not just Earth's hours, they're your hours.
Yeah, when the hours are misbehaving, they're my hours, not his hours.
So they leave. They have this nice little exchange, actually. Cassie asks, what did you think of my parents? X says, I like them, but why has your father removed the hair from his head? Hair. I meant to ask him, but forgot.
He's going bald. It's probably better for you not to mention it. It's a normal thing for humans, but some people get sensitive about it.
Axe says his father is much the same way about his hooves getting dull. But when she tries to prompt him to go on, he just sort of is like, she's like, what are your parents like? I showed you mine.
You show me yours,
like, what are your
right.
parents like?
And
he's like, they are normal parents. They're very nice.
But then he starts to get choked up. Like, it's obvious that he's in between serious kindness, but also his own emotions and missing his family. Yes. And it's like...
He said, my throat feels strange, like there is an obstruction. I'm having difficulty speaking. Is this normal?
And Cassie put her arm beneath his.
Should have said, no, that is anaphylactic shock. We have just learned one of Jake's allergies.
Thank God for you, Axe.
But Cassie actually, instead of correctly doing that, she erroneously put her arm beneath his and said, you miss them. That's normal.
Axe says an Andalite warrior may spend many years in space, far from his family, home and family. That's normal.
To which I reply, how do you know it's not normal to miss them?
And Cassie says, you may be an Andalite warrior, but you're still a kid too.
Mm-hmm. Which
he
feels really important to say.
Yeah, they have like a little moment. They stop walking for a moment and he looks up at the sky.
This moment is very cinematic. Yeah, take it away.
Yeah. She asks him to point out where his family is, if he's allowed to tell her. And he says, he points with his human fingers at the quadrant of space, so still very
vague,
broad.
A gesture.
And he says, there. And they just watch the star together as he morphs back to Andalite. And Cassie's like, we're all your friends. Even Marco and Rachel give you a hard time. Like, you're not just some alien. We are your friends. You know that, right? And he says, thank you for the chili. It was wonderful. And then he runs into the forest.
Yeah. Very nice moment. I love all these
stupid
Cassie
cute
moments that we're getting.
Yeah.
It does. We're asking for so long for her to get more time to shine, and it feels like now.
Yeah, she and Tobias both get a bit more time in this book, which I really feel like they needed because, like, I feel like we got tons of Marco and Rachel in books that weren't theirs, and now they're going to the back burner a little bit, and we're getting a lot more Tobias and Cassie, and I'm very appreciative of getting to know them.
Yeah.
So Cassie gave Axe a book of quotes, and he spends some time reading it, but he can't stop thinking about the fact that he knows how he could get in contact with his family. Even though he knows that it's breaking the rules, he has a way to do it. And he could do it. There's nothing stopping him, really, from at least trying to do it.
Yeah, and he's trying to figure out, like, if it would be, like, against his rules, like, if it would be against his code to do so. And he's like, well, if I'm going in to break the technology I gave them and then I used it to contact them and give them intel before I did that, is that really breaking the rules? Like, what?
Right, because if I don't erase the code that I wrote, I've already broken Ciro's kindness.
Right.
So going in to erase it is trying to follow the rules. So is sending a message to them right before I erase it really breaking the rules when the thing that broke the rules is about to be undone?
He has this very, like, kid brain line of thinking, which is also, he just wants someone else to tell him what to do. So he's also thinking,
absolutely,
if I contact them, they could just tell me what to do. They could give me instructions and say the right thing to do, and I wouldn't have to make that decision myself. I thought it was a good moment to remind us, like, as this book does over and over again, that Axe is a kid.
Yeah. And he is highly concerned about how he will appear to his home people. Like, he knows he's in a high pressure situation. And he's very concerned about doing the right thing, but by the code of his culture.
Yeah.
But more than that, he thinks that they might be proud of him if he was out here, to know he's out here fighting the Yeerks. He wants them to think that he's brave and that he's tough. And that's something that I relate to a lot. You know, I self-identify as a buttercup, but I have been told I am a bubbles. So that's just life.
We get this good line of Axe here, too. I'm not proud that I was thinking that. So he's not proud that he was thinking that if he called back home. Thinking of the
glory back home.
Yeah, everyone might think he's another Elfangor. He's a hero. But he does say, I have to tell the truth. And the truth was, I wanted everyone back home to think I was being very brave all alone on Earth. Which he is.
Yeah, he is. He's a big, brave boy.
He's a big, brave dog.
He's also very, very lonely. And he starts to think, who can I talk to about maybe making a plan to reach out to home? Like, who can I trust? Who am I close enough with?
Who else can relate to my situation?
Yeah, right. Who might understand?
Because he starts thinking about the other Animorphs, and he's like, you know, it was lonely knowing that Cassie was asleep in her home, and Marco and his, and Rachel and Jake all had homes, all but me and Tobias. Tobias, he would understand, but would he help me? If I did what I was planning, would he help me? Could I trust him? And so he goes to Tobias. His tail perks up. I did not highlight that, but you're absolutely right. But he goes to Tobias and wakes him up in the middle of the night. And Tobias is a big old grump about it.
He's being a real grumpy pants.
And he's like, Tobias, I need to know right now at 3 a.m. It's Eddy and Chris style. We just moved into our apartment. I'm not sure who's in whom's room, but it's happening. And it's like, I need to know right now, Ed. Are you my friend? And Eddy's like, why are you waking me up right now? And I'm like, answer the damn question. To which Eddy said, Chris,
confusingly,
very confusingly, almost prophetically, said, Chris, we are the 2 strangest creatures on this planet. A freaky 4-eyed half-deer, half-scorpion, centaur-looking alien, and a bird with the mind of a person. We fought side by side. We nearly been killed several times. Of course I hate your guts. No,
course I'm your friend.
Eddie said, of course I'm your friend.
I associate you with every bad thing that's ever happened to me.
But no, Eddie in that moment said, of course I'm your friend. And then it surprised me, Eddie, that you answered so quickly. And from there, I told you about how I needed your help so that I could contact my home planet of Greece.
Uh-huh.
Yes. But before I told you
Just to, pop in and say Christos anes.
Christos anes, to which they reply, Alithos anes.
Alithos anes.
And I said, but here's the thing. Before I tell you anything about this plan, I need to know that you can keep a secret. To which Eddie said,
is it something that would hurt my friends?
To which I said, no.
Then I'd keep a secret. I swear.
I needed to know in that moment, Ed. It was really important to me. Like, it just felt like I needed to know what you were swearing on. Like, I needed to know that we were on the same page. That, really, you understood the depth of the secret you need to keep. Is there something you could say that would show that to me, Ed?
And Eddie said, which I learned later, you know who's really cool? Your sister. I mean, I was with her when she was killed.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it, but I was drawn to her. I just wanted to listen to her. Everything she said, it was like she was a magnet or something. So I couldn't leave until she ordered me to. I can't explain it, but you're great.
You don't need to explain. Miranda was more of a hero than I'll ever be. Even to aliens, she was a hero.
She was willing to read all my fan fiction aloud with me.
That's true. That's true.
Perform it.
But I'm a mere babe. Anyway, Eddie said,
you asked what I'd swear by. I'll swear by her. By
Princess Miranda. Prince Miranda feels right.
It does feel right. And so I told...
But I'd keep the dress.
And so I told Eddie of my plan. And that is where we will end our story tonight.
Because we talked
to him.
Thanks for listening to Anadorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon.